Hey everybody, Steve Ritter. I should welcome back to me. I guess it's been a while since I've posted something here, so you can look around the room here and see I'm in a different place. Um, I between work and a move, I moved to a kind of a long-term stay hotel here in downtown Abu Dhabi. So I'm like middle of downtown, and so it's a little different. But I haven't posted. No excuse, sir. So, um, this place is a little different than the last place I was at. Yaz Islands is more of a resort. It's not a whole lot around there, and that's different than down here. There's stuff going on all the time. People outside. Um, you can look outside my window, and there's like four mosques right there. So Ramadan's going on right now. First night I spent here, um, I was woken up the next morning at 6 a.m. with the call to prayer, uh, hearing that. So my windows are not quite soundproof, but thought I'd mix things up a little bit or do something a little different. So so this is first ever edition of experimenting with the kernel. So help me think of a catchier name if you can. If you got one, I'm all ears. But what I thought I'd try, so on my trip to, and I'm going to follow that up with a little bit of a story too. So on my trips to India, I stayed at a hotel in New Delhi, and they had a restaurant downstairs, and they had all the food out and everything else, and a lot of Indian food. Imagine that. Um, but one of the things they had there, and I always like to try things, and I think I got that a lot of that from my mom. She was never afraid to try new things or anything else. So, but one of the things they had there was pickled stuff. Now you think pickles, you think pickles in a jar, but actually, I have a video posted right up here where I fermented some cucumbers in brine, which is really pickling. So preserving things with salt, pickling, and one of the things I really liked there was this pickled mango. So you probably can find this in some Indian food stores, pickled things like this. But this is just cut up mango with some salt and some spices and curry and turmeric powder and things like that. Some oils and things. Obviously, I mean it's for taste and all, and some acidity they added and everything else. But see the color? See it's brown, and that was the way it was and I'm going to try that, and also going to try some lime pickles. So I also did I did a video. I had made a jar. Watched a show on preserved lemons, and and it's really easy to do. You just cut up lemons and pack them in salt, and then pour some lemon juice to cover it, and then put the top on and put it in a cool place. No need to refrigerate it or anything else. And I'd had some pickles, and they had turned what color would I call it? Grayish, maybe, or something. Of course, the ravishing Mrs. Ritter had her doubts, as did I. But I ended up using it to make some um, Persian chicken, which somebody had sent me a recipe to, and that's right here, that link. Um, but I lost my train of thought. No, I didn't. Here it is. I found it. So at this buffet at this hotel, they had these big jars of pickled mangoes, and they had these little. They were like crackers. It was kind of like a Pringle. It probably was made from potatoes or something, but it was like a fried cracker thing. I'm not sure what they call it, but I would put a little bit of that pickled mango on that and eat it, and I really developed a taste for it. I really liked it a lot. So I bought a couple of jars to try for you, and I like the taste. And I got it with some crackers here. So I've got some regular saltine crackers, and then I also got some. These are tomato pesto crackers. Thought I'd mix it up a little bit, get a little fancy crackers. So I'm gonna try this, put a little bit on this, and let y'all know what I think. So here it is. Here's what it looks like. It's spicy, So if you don't like spicy, this might not be for you. So let me give it a try. Yeah, it's got a real, I mean, it's obviously got a salty taste to it, but they use this a lot, put this on stuff as well. Now I was thinking one of these days I'm going to make myself an omelet, and I'm going to put a little bit of this on the top instead of salsa. I think that would be a nice touch with that. A little bit on top of some Indian food maybe to help spice up, but it's got a salty taste to it, and it's spicy, but the mango, the sweetness isn't really coming through at all. So, but I really like the taste because I like spicy food. So, like I said, if you're not a big spicy food fan, this might not be for you, but it's tasty nonetheless. So, now I'm going to try the lime. Now, they had mango. They did have limes there, or lemons. They did lemons there, and they would pickle them in their own. And that's the funny thing is they would keep them in a jar out in the open. And it wasn't, the restaurant. It's like a hotel restaurant. So I mean, it was sanitary and everything else there in India. There weren't flies all over it or anything else, but just kept it open. And I think the brown comes from the oxidation a little bit. So it's fine. I mean, it tastes good. So I'm going to try a little bit of the lime here and see how this is. I think I got a chunk of lime on that one. See that? So, no. I can taste the lime on that one. The real citrus undercurrent to it. Now it's got the spices, and then you get the lime buried in there. So that fascinates me. The methods that the old timers used to use to preserve food, because not everybody had refrigerators. They would have spring boxes where spring water coming out, and they'd build a box around it to kind of to fill up, and they would put their milk in there and cheese and things like that to keep it cool. And the water coming out of the ground was 50 something degrees, so it would help it last longer. But what if you don't have that too? And they would preserve food like that, like pickling and salting, curing, smoking, all the different ways, and all that fascinates me. And one of these days, when I have my little gentleman's farm, I'm gonna build myself a smokehouse, and I'm gonna preserve a lot of stuff. I'm gonna can stuff and do all of that. That's the plan. And one of the things is going to be making pickled stuff, fermented things as well, sauerkraut and pickles and things like that, vegetables, all of that to help preserve it, to last longer and to make your food dollar go longer, especially if you have a garden. Really, if you have a garden, because who can eat that many green beans at once, I'm going to get a little bit more of this lime. This is pretty tasty. Again, I got another chunk on here. Now I'm digging that. I think I'll finish that later after I tell you my story. So I was thinking about this the other day. I did a video, travel stories, which I'll put the link right there too. Got 3 links in this video, maybe more. We'll see. So we were stationed in Germany from 2004 to early 2008. And so before we went, at the time, we had a big family, had 4 kids, and the ravishing Mrs. Ritter, we decided, what car do we want? We bought a Suburban, and actually it was a GMC Yukon XL, which is a Suburban, and we got orders to Germany, and we had some friends that were over there at the time, and they were, I remember calling a buddy of mine, Eric Hansen, and asked him, I said, hey man, you're over there now. I mean, what do you think about, because they would ship one vehicle over. I said, what do you think about bringing over a Suburban? And he said, well, that's what we have, and it's fine, and you get around fine. So all right. So we shipped it off, picked it up, and we went all over. And it's a great traveling vehicle, and we could load all the kids in. And you really, with as big as the Suburban is and the whole back end, you don't have to load plan at all. You just throw all the bags in, and there's no thought to it because it all fits. It all fits, right? Put your whole house in there. And but we traveled all over, and we would do little day trips and weekend trips. And one of them we did was to Rothenburg. And if you've ever been to or ever heard about Rothenburg, it's an old medieval walled city in Germany, in Western Germany, and it's like a storybook fairy tale place. So we decided we had gone there to visit, and it's just far enough where it's a little too far for a day trip. But we decided we were going to go there and spend the night, and this was around Thanksgiving. It was in the wintertime, or like Thanksgiving, like November, December time frame. So we packed all the kids up and drove there, and we stayed and we found a little bed and breakfast, and we said, well, let's try this bed and breakfast in the city. So we drive into this is great, and we pulled into the town. We pulled through the gate of the city, and there's roads there, and it's really cool over there because the roads, you could tell it was the roads were made for wagons, and a lot of the buildings, they have the corners of the buildings have a round cement bumper that kind of comes out, and that was to keep wagons from clipping the edge of the building, because you'd hit that bumper and it kind of kick you back out, so you wouldn't clip off the corners of people's buildings with wagons and stuff back in the day. So remember that. So we found where our bed and breakfast was, and we go and we're checking in, and they're like, hey, where is there parking? And they're like, yeah, it's around back. So I drop the kids and Arlene off, and I drive around back, very pretty narrow, and I make this tight turn, and it was right up against the wall of the city. So I kind of just pulled in a parallel park right next to the wall, and had to put the mirrors in and everything because it was pretty narrow, but it was enough room for a car to get by. And we went to our room, and it was just a small little bed and breakfast, and then we walked, and of course the town's small enough you can walk all over and see everything. So we walked around and saw everything. It was pretty cold, as I recall, and saw a few things and all, and then that afternoon it started snowing, and it was just magical, and it was a good memory for us because we were all curled up in our room, and it was pretty cold in there, and they gave us like an electric space heater, and that was like the space heaters were like the only heaters in the place, and so we're all curled up watching some grainy black and white German television, and it was a good memory. We all had a good time laughing, and we debated, okay, we're going to go on the night watchman tour, which is a big thing there. That's if you go there, you got to do the night watchman tour, and it's just this guy who's been doing it. Arlene said she remembered seeing this same guy when she was a little girl back in the early 80s, and he's been doing it that long. Same guy. He's got the corner on the market, and he just walks around and gives tours of the town and tells stories about the town and everything else, which is really cool. But so we debated whether to do that night, snowing, cold, and we're all warm in the covers and everything else. We're like, no. So we were like, well, we'll just have to come back and do it, which we did, when it was warmer. But that night, so we looked around, got our little worst dogs and everything else, and got up the next morning, walked around a little bit more before we had to check out. And that was one of the kids, just this funny stories about me they always kind of laugh about, because we go into they had the famous thing in Rothenburg is these things called schneeballs, like snowballs, and it's dough that they kind of wrap into a ball, like a ball of twine, but it's like thicker, and they fry it, and so it's deep fried, it forms a ball, and then they'll dip them in chocolate or brown sugar or something like that, so it's this like crunchy, and nothing really is sweet. None of the stuff in Germany is very sweet. I don't know if that's just during the war, the lack of sugar, and they just learned to do without. But I don't think Germans have very much of a sweet tooth, because none of the cakes and pastries and things like that are very sweet at all, and this wasn't either. And I'm like, well, we got to get a Schneeball, so I gotta. We go into this thing. It's a famous thing in the town. We got to try it, right? So we go in there, and I had my rudimentary German, and I'm like, Schneeball, and she goes, how many? And I just wanted I wanted three, which in German is drei. So I and the kids were all watching. I'm ordering it, and they're watching, and I go zwei, which is two, but I held up three fingers, zwei, and the kids they still give me a hard time about that. They'll go zwei, and the lady's like totally confused, but she kind of goes, okay, we must mean number of fingers, and she's like, oh, okay. She gives me three of them, but we go and check out, and this is the story of the hovering car. So we check out, we go and get in the Suburban, load everything up, get everybody in, and I'm like, okay, here we go. So I start pulling out. There's snow still all over the road, and it was the drive was right along the wall for probably about 200 feet or so, and then it was a hard left turn down a hill to the main road, which was plenty wide enough to be able to get out, but it was tight. And so we get in there and we're driving out, and I start pulling out, and my wheels go, and I'm like, oh. So I take it real slow, and I pull out, and remember the bumpers I was telling you about. So I'm coming up to the corner, and there's one of those bumpers, so I have to take it really wide, and the turn radius on the Suburban is not very good. So I get just past it, I give it a hard left, and I get turned, start head downhill, and then my bumper's like right up against the wall. And I'm like going, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to back up a little bit to get going back down this hill the way I need to go. So I'm like, I kind of stop, and Arlene's going, you think you can make that? I'm like, oh yeah. And so she's kind of going, looking at me like, no. So I put it in reverse, and I straighten the wheel, and I'm gonna just back straight up, and I give it a little gas, and the back wheels go, and I'm going, oh, and I put it in forward a little bit, go back, and then I put it in reverse, and the wheels are spinning. I'm going, oh Lordy, we're gonna be stuck. We're gonna be stuck here on this hill. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to get out of here. I mean, what are we gonna do? And all this going through my mind. Of course, I can't say that because I'm a man. I have it all figured out, right? So I'm going, what am I gonna do? And I turn the wheel hard right, and I put it in reverse, and I give it a little bit of gas, and I swear the car the wheel starts spinning, and it's not going back, but it's turning, and it was like it was on a little like on a pendulum or a little point, and it just, and I kind of go, oh, this might work, and I put it in forward, and I come forward a little bit, I put it back in reverse hard right, give it gas, and it just spins in place, and I'm pointed right down the hill. So I look over at Arlene. I'm like, of course, that's what I meant to do. Oh, one of the coolest moments of driving, and she's just like over there going, oh. It's like, oh, he doesn't need his ego inflated any more than that, but and yeah, it was pointed. So that was the hovering car. I mean, in place, didn't back. It just turned in place, and then I went right down the hill, just perfectly lined. It's like I meant to do it, which, yeah, good Lord was watching out for us that day, because I didn't mean for that to happen, but it did. So and we went down the hill, and then it went on out of the city and went on home. But that was the story of the hovering car, and in Germany. So anyway, yeah. So this pickled stuff here, it's good. I mean, if you want to just try it just to see, and like I said, I think I probably would. I'm going to put a little bit on my eggs, try that, jazz those up a little bit, and it's tasty. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, that's the other thing about this stuff too, is you don't refrigerate it. So you put the top back on and you put it back in a cool, dry place, and it just keeps, because it's pickled, salted. There's nothing gonna live in it because it's salty, you know. So anyway, I know some of you have some issues with salt and all that, but again, that's everything in moderation, I guess, or try it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the story. Hope you, I'll give you a little tour. I've got some cool places around here that we can go see. There's a gold souk that's just across the way. I plan to go over there and check that out. And I'll do some videos on that. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great day. And it's the Colonel signing off. Over and out.